By 1999, the publishing contract for Star Wars novels had transferred from Bantam back to Del Rey, and both Del Rey and Lucasfilm Publishing had big plans for the future. Rather than the standalones and trilogies that had hopped all over the place chronologically during the Bantam era, Del Rey wanted to release one large, multi-book series that covered a 5-year span of galactic history. So in 1997 and 1998, representatives from Del Rey, Lucasfilm Publishing, Dark Horse Comics, and several of the onboard authors met at Skywalker Ranch in California to brainstorm how this series would work. The Bantam-era books were mostly focused on the war between the New Republic and the Empire, and the group wanted our heroes to fight against a newer, larger, and darker threat. The 1980s and the 1990s saw the rise of a subgenre that we call grimdark. In opposition to the traditional high fantasy of Tolkien's Lord of the Rings or Lloyd Alexander's The Chronicles of Prydain, grimdark fiction features a dark and grim tone. A greater sense of realism in that the rulers are often useless and the heroes are deeply flawed, and an increased focus on the agency of the protagonists, in that the characters have to actively choose between good and evil. So keeping that in the back of your mind, it makes a lot of sense that the group was worried that fans thought that the Bantam-era books didn't contain any real threats against the protagonists, that nothing really bad ever happened to them, and the world felt too stale and safe. So Dark Horse Comics proposed the idea of an extra-galactic invasion, people coming from outside the Star Wars galaxy into it to cause mayhem. And the group also felt that a main character needed to die to shake things up, and they initially proposed Luke Skywalker. However, George Lucas poo-pooed that idea, and he also told them that nothing could happen to C-3PO or R2-D2. And Randy Stradley from Dark Horse Comics proposed that they kill off Chewbacca. Chewbacca had been perhaps underused in the Bantam-era books, and Stradley described him as the quintessential supporting character. So with that decided, it was time to move on to their great threat. Dark Horse Comics had also proposed that the villains be dark side users, but George Lucas vetoed that idea as well because it would conflict with what he was developing in his prequel trilogy. So instead they settled on the Yuuzhan Vong, extragalactic invaders who are religious zealots intent on conquering the galaxy. So with the Bantam books, I wasn't really coming to them as they were published. I would discover them at the library, read them, but I was really reading them out of sequence. With the new Jedi Order, though, that was the first series where I was getting books as they came out. I was a teenager, I couldn't afford the hardcovers, so I was still waiting for those from the library, but the paperback books were very much within my budget. So I have many memories of going to Books A Million, going to Borders, going to Walden Books, so I could get those books immediately as they were released and read what happened next. The multi-book series, in this case a 19-book series, did start to lose me a little by the end. I read Destiny's Way, but then I'm not sure that I read the trilogy and the single book that followed it, and I suspect that I just jumped straight to The Unifying Force by James Luceno, so I'll be interested to see what I remember from these books and what actually is new to me because I just fell off the wagon by the end. So, in 2021, I'm going to read the first grimdark Star Wars series. Next time, I'll be doing an actual review of Vector Prime by R.A. Salvatore.
Now, with my loved ones and my loyal allies, I face a new challenge unlike any before. And I'm not sure at this time we can win.
Star Wars Vector Prime by R.A. Salvatore, the first novel of the new Jedi Order.